Hey, welcome. With us today is Woody. He's a new YouTuber. He has a phenomenal channel. I've enjoyed a lot of his content so far. How are you, sir?
Good. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
It's a
Appreciate it.
pleasure. Everybody gets an introduction. Like I said, with us today is Woody. He's an architect and a senior project manager. Married with a father of two. He has 20 plus years of brewing experience, which I think is one of the probably the one that has the most experience so far that I've interviewed on this. Some people have been sandbagging with me. A new member of the Oregon Brew Crew. He's a do-it-yourself builder. Makes vinegar from his beer. We'll definitely have to talk about that one. Pickles his own vegetables, which is sounds pretty cool too. Martial artist since the age of 6. I think that's one thing we do have in common. I'd be kind of curious what style that you study. Plays drums in a casual Friday night band and a content creator, like I said earlier. Did I miss anything?
That sounds pretty good. I will have to say I am not a registered architect, so I cannot call myself an architect. My
Oh,
employer is licensed in 48 states. He carries all the licensure. I have the education and the background. I do not have the licensure, so
oh,
just need to.
interesting.
Yeah, but it's
So just a
we.
little red tape.
Yeah, we do commercial work
Mm.
nationally for quick service restaurants,
Oh,
primarily
okay.
commercial kitchen work, and so we're working all over the country with a lot of large, I mean, really global brands, and
That's really cool, buddy.
that's
Yeah.
that's what I do for a living. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. All right,
Yeah.
so I'm going to start at the very beginning. So you listed that you and some buddies bought a 5 gallon extract kit over 20 years ago. Can you
Yeah.
take us back to that moment? Whose ideal was it, and what made you pull the trigger?
I think it was my idea. I'm not
Mhm.
sure. It was the three of us. It was 2002
Okay.
when it was a group of us kind of met up in Park City, Utah.
Okay.
We were just traveling the country young and just wanted to snowboard and
Awesome.
wait tables and bartend and just have fun, and that's what we were doing. And being in Utah and some of the laws for alcohol and drinking beer was
Mhm.
it was it's a little stricter, but we realized that you could go buy homebrew kits and you
Mhm.
could do it yourself and it didn't matter. So we went down to Salt Lake City and
Mhm.
found a little shop and bought a 5 gallon kit. And yeah, it was fun. I think I was the most into it
Mhm.
out of the three of us. And our first batch did not work out, of course. It's pretty simple, but we were making a stout
Okay.
and we decided it was just a basic, 5 gallon extract kit,
Mhm.
came with a 5 gallon stainless steel pot, a little immersion copper chiller,
Mm.
um, and just the basic necessities for the whole process, the extract and the hops and the
Mhm.
yeast. And yeah, I think everything went well except for when we went after cooking it.
Mhm.
Um, we fermented it and we bottled it, but immediately and primed it and immediately chilled it. So we put it
Okay.
right in the fridge with after priming it, and
Right.
it didn't carbonate.
And nothing happened.
Right.
Killed the yeast or stalled the yeast at least.
Yeah, so we pulled it out and tried to sit it out at room temperature for weeks, and then it just never really seemed to do anything. So it it was pretty awful, but that was the first go.
A tough lesson to learn, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome though. Yeah, and also like I think I said this a few times. But like my how I started was I bought a extract kit as well too, right? So I bought the Northern Brewers Party Block Amber or something like that. It turned
Okay.
out okay, right? It was a beer, and it was led me down like the rabbit hole of watching other people make beers and reading books and all that fun stuff. So I I guess my next question is, so you've been doing this for 20 years. So when you start off with like extract kit, like walk us through the arc of going from that to all grain.
So I was always interested in all grain. When we left and we all
Mm,
parted, and then I moved to the Northwest, I moved to
mm,
Oregon, and I took the kit. They were like, "Hey, we're getting revolver stuff." They're like, "Woody, you're way more into this than we are. You know, you can take it." So I was like, "Oh yeah, mine, thanks."
yeah,
So
there you go.
I took it, and then I was doing, a few batches
Mm,
over time. I wasn't doing it all the time. I was probably spending more time drinking beer than making beer, but I always wanted to go to all grain. I wanted to try it. Um, and I decided to just go for it. There was a small local store. It was called Let's Brew.
Mm,
They're long since out of business, unfortunately. And I would go get ingredients and talk to them there.
mm,
And at the time, there wasn't. I mean, I had my original from the original kit. It was like one piece of paper that kind of gave you the basic
mm,
instructions that I would pretty much just use for everything. I'd look, you know, it wasn't like it is today. It wasn't like
mm.
just Google everything, get on
Right.
YouTube, and none of that. There wasn't anything there, so I just get like a basic book. I think it was I'm trying to remember which book name it is now, but and I I would just talk to them in the shop,
Mm,
and the owner of that shop was also a welder, and
mm,
he was converting half barrels,
mhm,
it's
mhm,
15 half-gallon kegs. He was converting them into cook kettles and mash tuns and
mm,
selling them. So I just kept talking to him about it, and I figured if I was going to go to all grain, I didn't want to mess with the mashing process of like a small cooler,
mm,
and
yeah.
I needed larger vessels. I was like, I'm gonna just make the leap to double up. Instead
Mm,
of 5 gallons, I want to just do 10-gallon batches. So, um, I basically just talked to him, and
mhm,
I mean, it was really reasonable price to buy those from him, and it's just they were fantastic. So I got those larger vessels, and um, just started going for it. And what I did was I started looking around for they used to have like printouts in the shop of different recipes, just
mm,
basic recipes. And I just grabbed one for all grain. And if it was for 5 gallons, I just doubled it.
mhm,
And and it was just all experimentation. That's pretty much how I've always done it. Was I would try it.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
and I would change no variables. Like I would change if I was going to change a variable, I only change one,
mhm.
and I would do it again. And that's really how it went.
That's
And
actually
I
really
never
cool.
turned
Yeah.
back,
Yeah.
But
Yeah, dude, that's actually pretty awesome. Yeah, so I do brew in a bag. I kind of went that
yeah,
route.
that's awesome.
I was
Yeah.
like, I know how to make tea, and all I'm doing is steeping, right? I'm just steeping grains. I go
Hmm.
and I stir it oh, it kind of depends. Like, I bounce back and forth between like a 60-60, so like a 60-minute mash, 60-minute boil, or I'll do 30-30. So either I'm
Right.
stirring every 20 minutes or I'm stirring every 10 minutes, just depending on which one I want to do. I, so far, I've noticed that sometimes saving time, the beer source still turns out great. So sometimes I'd rather just save the time. But there are times I'd rather like, oh, I'm in no hurry today. I have like all morning not to do anything. So I'll do the 60-minute everything and just take my time.
That's how
So
I
I,
kind of
yeah.
handle it too.
Yeah, is it? Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the conversion happens in like the first 20 to 30 minutes in your mashing
Right.
anyway. As long as you have your conditions right, and
Yeah.
pH and everything. But I'll usually do 90 minutes. I mean, some folks will do it. I mean, they'll do overnight mashes. You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
Um,
I've never done it. I've never
the
seen it necessary, but
Steve, the apartment brewer, he does that now because he has a child.
hmm
He notices that to be a lot
right.
easier on him to do it that way. So he does half of
Break
it.
up the whole brew day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that way he can still spend time with his kid and stuff like that, which I thought was a great idea as well too. I've done overnight cool down like during like the winter months, just left it in my
Right.
garage and just let it just cool down on its own. I did a Schwartz beer that way. And
Oh,
it turned out really
nice.
good. So because I didn't have a lagering system at the time either, in my garage in the winters between 50 to 55, somewhere in there. So we said it turned out pretty good. But I'm sure if I had better temperature all the time, probably would come out a lot cleaner. But it's still such an interesting beer to drink, right? Because black as night, but it's a lager at the same time. So it's just so weird,
Sabia.
so weird, delicious.
Yeah.
I do have like
Absolutely.
a little bit of like advice questions to kind of ask along the way too. So for
Sure.
someone who's thinking about so they've been really like extract for a while and they want to kind of jump into all grain. Like what is like some of the first steps they kind of need to think about kind of making that leap from one kit to the all grain process?
I think it's more of The size, the volume of the vessels that you're using
Mm,
seems to be a big deal. How you fit it all in, and
mhm,
depending on the style of beer that you're making, how much grain you need to use. Early on, especially too, I just basically it seemed to be that most recipes for it was, 2 pounds of grain for a gallon of water.
mm,
So, and then you kind of figure out because if you have a 5 gallon pot,
mm,
you obviously you're not going to be able to, and if you're going to try to mash in it on the stovetop or something like that, which you can do to maintain the temperatures, you're not going to get 10 pounds of grain.
mm,
And so you have to do a much lower volume. And I like to do like a full volume mash as much as possible. I just
mm,
personally, so I don't have to add as much sparge water. I think it's really the vessel size. So I think it's great. One thing that I think you could do if you want to do it and stay
mm.
small is just do like a 3 gallon batch.
Yeah,
And don't be afraid of the fact that, oh, all recipes are done for 5 gallons. Like just proportionally, percentages, just cut it down
right.
and don't be afraid to just try it. And that's what I think. I've actually been thinking about lately, uh, putting a video together, doing just like, take a step back.
Mm,
I know
mhm,
I do 11-gallon all grain batches now, but I'll do a stovetop batch and I'll just use my 5 gallon, stainless steel pot and
mm, mhm,
just do like a 3 gallon batch. So you do a 3 gallon batch and then, the brew in the bag is fantastic. So you
mhm,
use a bag, to do that. I think that's the biggest thing and just don't be afraid of it. I mean, you're essentially making your own extract,
mhm.
right? It's just a additional step and more time, but you have much more control over it.
Right.
So you
Yeah.
can make that, but that's pretty much what you're doing, I guess. When you're doing your mash, you're just making your own extract,
Mm,
kind of to a degree. Obviously, it's but I don't know if that was that an answer. I think it's just overwhelming a lot
yeah.
of times, the folks to just it's such a big step and um yeah, and I think when you work your way and get more comfortable with using specialty grains, that you can still use extracts, but add more specialty
Mm,
grains
mhm.
in your bags, and you'll get more comfortable with it when you're steeping it because it's the same thing.
Yeah, no,
Um,
no, that's very true. Because I feel like some of the, because I'll still, there's two extracts I still like to buy. One is a, and I mention all this all the time, so I'm also going doing it, is a blueberry honey ale, and I really,
mm,
really like it.
sounds
So
good.
it is a liquid malt extract, right? And but it comes with like a little specialty grains and just like a little steeping, what is it called, like a muslin bag or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Um, the issue I've had with it lately is they changed to a very generic yeast, which I've never
All
heard
right.
of. So that part kind of sucks a little bit. But every time I try to recreate it using all grain, I have a very difficult time doing it because that liquid malt extract, I'm not 100% sure what it is.
Right.
So like it's kind of hard to match like the flavor profile. So I just stick with that and I just modify my water chemistry, do other little odds and ends to it to make it taste even better. One thing I want to do is I actually want to ferment it on actual blueberries and maybe a little bit of blackberry puree to make it even pop even more of the blueberry flavor itself. I think that would be because right now it's only on the nose because you just all it comes like a 4 ounce extract. Yeah, for
Right.
4 ounce. Yeah, so it's just nose. That's all you get. So you get a lot of blueberry in the nose, really not much on the palate. I want a little more on the palate because there's this a beer from Alaska my neighbor gets has wild blueberries in it. And it's a
Yeah.
lager and it's so good, so tasty. So what am I
Yeah.
trying to mimic that a little bit? I think that'd be kind of fun little experiment.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. I brewed a batch. Amber Hefeweizen is like
yeah.
what I've been brewing the longest, and I did a blueberry batch from the
I
blueberries from my blueberry bushes in my
I
backyard, and
think that's how I found you. I think that's one of the first videos I saw, but probably commented on. I was like, that looked phenomenal.
oh, so good.
No,
It was so good, and
I
it's
bet you it was.
completely different. And I was like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
add some blueberries, and I didn't want to use any extracts or anything. I just processed the blueberries and
Yeah.
went for it, and
Yeah.
it came out
So
great.
yeah, if you listen to episode one, like my cousin Scott talks about how he just grabs grapes from his grapevine and threw it into one of his ales.
I didn't watch that.
right? So I
Man,
was like, I was like, I
good.
don't even think he even washed them or what. I think or rinsed them off. I think it was about it and just dumped it in there, right? So like, who knows what wild yeast was in there and all that kind of stuff. It was good because I was actually happened to show up while he still had quite a bit left over, and it was. I couldn't describe. He described it great. Like I had a hard time, but when he said it tasted like that Big League Chew, great bubblegum when we were
That's a
kids, right?
bubble gum.
I was
The
like, yeah,
tape of them.
it had a lot of that flavor to it. I'm like, okay, yeah, it did, didn't it? That was awesome.
Yeah.
um,
But I
so
think, yeah, you'll get to know the grains better as you do, because that is what's hard. You're
yeah,
using extracts. You don't know, you know, really, like you said, you don't know what's in there,
yeah,
that made that
exactly.
extract. So, but
I think
things
another
just
advice
don't
I
be
give
afraid.
people is actually taste some of the grains too, so you have an idea. Because you can
That's
read
good.
it all you want, and like until
Right.
you taste it yourself, like do you actually taste the caramel toffee notes that they're saying? Because you may not pick
Right.
that up because everyone's palate's obviously slightly different, right? So that's
That's
something I got to
right.
take
Yeah.
in consideration. I've gotten to the point where I'll even taste a little bit of the dry yeast just to kind of see what flavors that might impart as well, too, right? Just
Yeah.
kind of to see what that is. I'm not trying liquid yeast because obviously I don't want to put my finger in the middle of the stream, but I'm not trying liquid yeast yet. But I probably should just to see what flavors can I pick up. That's one thing I lack. I think I'm very blind when it comes to flavor profiles. I want to get better at it. I mean, I've been drinking beer for a very long time, but the bulk of my beer drinking life was Bud Light. I drank a lot of Bud
Right.
Light, a lot of money to them, so that's what I knew. I didn't start really getting into craft beer until 2000, whenever I moved down here. So what was that? 2005, maybe? Yeah, I think it was 2005. So I went back to college, and every time I would finish off a semester, I'd go build a six pack somewhere. So I'd go like Kroger or Food Line or something like that. I'd go build six packs. I would try different kind of beers, and then I was like, oh, these are kind of good. Then like craft, and then I saw there's craft breweries around here, so I started going to craft breweries, and then I watched my cousin brew his own beer. Then of course, 2021 is whenever I think about my kit. Then I got into the hobby. I'm like, oh man, wish I would have found this a long time ago. This is great. But like you're saying earlier, so I've actually dialed back. I hardly ever do 5 gallons unless I buy a kit. I do 3 gallons because I can't drink five
There you
gallons of
go.
beer, right? And
Right.
then I usually
Yeah.
get tired of the beer after a while. There's so many styles I
Gotcha.
want to try to make. Um, I don't have a whole lot of people around me that drink beer or want my beer, so I can't give it away very easily. But the street I live on, there's only like 5 or 6 houses, so
Right.
so it's really hard to get rid of it. So I'm like, that's fine, it's whatever. I enjoy the process of making the beer, the benefits
Right.
or the pleasure I get from is drinking the beer. But sometimes, like even after a pint or two, I'm like, oh, that was good. Now I want to make something different. So maybe I already have a bunch of grains already bought, and I want to start doing something.
Right. And I've seen, know a couple other people that have, I've helped along the way that have gotten
Mm,
interested and want to try it. And it's like, you can do like the little 1 gallon batches. The problem
yeah.
is it's so little. That's what I have a buddy who's like, I don't know however many it was. He's like, I don't know. I have like 6 bottles of beer now after all that work. And,
Yeah.
so I was like, it seems to be like that, you know, that 3 gallons is a nice sweet spot.
It is a sweet spot, I
And
think, overall. Yeah.
and then it's just a matter of figuring out your recipes because they're just not going to
Hmm.
be readily available, right? No, it's
No.
of telling you, but it's really I mean, I know when they talk about like when you're going to commercial brewing and you really scale up,
Hmm.
it's not quite linear on your
Hmm.
percentage of grain and everything
Right.
when you're going to those big leaps. But the from like 3 gallons, 3 gallons to 5 gallons to 10 gallons, I think it's fairly linear.
Yeah.
It's not not a big deal.
And some of the software out
Um,
there helps out a lot to like scale
yeah,
up or
the
scale down.
software is amazing.
Really helps.
I've
Yeah.
never had any of that. I've been just now toying with it.
Okay.
It's funny. Yeah, I never I have no social media presence. My
Okay.
only
So just
social
YouTube.
media yeah, just now I created that channel. It was on a whim, and I didn't even realize how much was out there even when I started it.
Oh
But
wow, yeah.
um, I
It's a lot.
yeah, I think the first time I saw someone on YouTube doing it was actually Apartment Brewer,
Hmm.
Steve, and that was me randomly looking. Like, so through COVID, I know a lot of people became brewers
Yep.
over COVID. I was already doing it. I just
Hmm.
did it at home, and I didn't know that this whole thing was happening. that like
Oh wow, yeah.
everyone was involved in creating channels and doing all this stuff. I didn't watch any. I didn't even know what was happening. I'm dating myself, I guess, maybe, getting close to 50 years old, and hey, I don't know. But I came across a video
Hmm.
from him because I was
Hmm.
looking the clarity because I always use Irish moss or really Whirlflock,
Yeah.
preferably for as a hot side finding to
Hmm.
clarify the beer. And I was more interested in cold side findings, and I was just searching around because when I would search the internet for things that I was trying to find some
Hmm.
information, I would usually just find articles and anything that I could really try to find just to see that was written up about it.
Hmm.
And I came across it. Google just put up a video of him talking about different ways, different finding methods, and I watched that, and it still didn't even click to me like that this is a whole thing. Like, oh, he has a channel, he has all of this. Is nothing. I was just like, oh, this is cool. Okay, yeah, it's YouTube. It's got to be. I didn't even know how any of that worked. It was just like,
Mm.
oh, somebody just put you can put videos out and do that. And so I watched that and was like, oh, cool, that's great. And just moved on and didn't even
Mhm.
realize what it all was. So I actually, the first person that I ever subscribed and realized what this whole thing was Flora Brewing.
Oh
It's
yeah,
Sarah
she was
Flora.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. And
Mhm.
that's when I realized, I was like, wait a minute. And that was actually, it was long before the blueberry beer,
Mhm.
adding blueberry as a cranberry oatmeal stout that I make.
Mm.
And it's actually a cranberry oatmeal stout. The first time I made that was when I was still doing extracts,
Mm.
and I used flavoring and cranberry flavoring. But it was so long ago, and I wanted to bring that back because people just love that beer. It's odd.
Mhm.
It's a cranberry oatmeal stout, but it's really good. It's not a sweet fruit,
Mhm.
and it really goes well. It's surprisingly really good. And some folks had asked me about it again. They were like, "You did this? I don't know, how over 10 years ago or something. Why don't you do that?" So I was like, "I'm going to do it with all grain, and I want to
Mhm.
do it with real cranberries." So I was searching around for anything,
Mhm.
any information for using real berries, and that's how I came across uh, Sarah's one of her videos that she was doing. And it was great. And then I realized it kind of clicked, and I'm like, wait a minute, okay, what is this? Oh, I mean, she's got this is a channel. Like, this
Mhm.
is a whole thing. And I looked at it, and then I started watching her stuff and subscribed. It's actually the first person I ever subscribed to
Yeah.
on YouTube. And yeah, it's a real bummer. I think she hasn't been doing anything now because I think with her name, and she started doing some commercial contracts trying to do some stuff, and then she got some cease and desist because the name was close to some on the other side of the country, some brewery.
Oh really? I didn't
Um,
know that part of the story. That
and I
sucks.
think it seemed like she had done an update, but that's now been a year ago or something that I think it just sounded like it really took the wind out of her
It
sales,
might
like
have. Yeah,
the
that would
whole
suck.
thing. But anyway, she's great. And then I
Mhm.
then I was like, wait a minute, who's this apartment brewer guy? And then of course I got over it, and he's amazing. And then found the whole community. But really, me starting my own channel, I mean, it's been a year now
But
doing it.
congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, I just talking with friends and family, and it was more of one of those. And then I'm getting older and just thinking about like, what are my hobbies and what am I going to do? And you start thinking
Mhm.
about things like, what am
Mhm.
I
You
going
can
to
do
do when
it.
I retire?
Yep.
Whatever. Doesn't mean I'm retiring anytime
Nope.
soon, but
Just to plan for
um,
it.
right. But just what do you do with your time, and what are you really passionate about? What do you like to do
Mhm.
besides just raising your family and, supporting them and yourself and whatever, but um, they were like, hey, you're a talker, and my father-in-law calls me the explainer. I have other friends, a group of friends over the years that would call me the professor, but really all they were saying is you just talk a lot. Doesn't mean,
Right.
but
Be nice about it.
yeah, but they were like, why don't you do that? And I was like, yeah, I think I'll do it. And
Yeah.
I didn't script anything. I've been doing it for so long. I just set up a camera and was like, I'm
And
going to
just
do
go.
the process. I'm going to talk out like whatever's normally going in my head, through the whole process of whatever I'm
Hmm.
doing. I'll just explain what I'm doing and what I'm thinking. The editing process is
Yeah,
is
different
more
side of the
work.
story. Yeah, it's a lot.
And I'm just usually removing me repeating myself 50 times
Oh,
and
yeah.
and then there's a lot of downtime in brewing. A lot of folks don't realize that. You're brewing all day. You
Hmm.
don't want me to just keep the camera on generally. But hey, some people I've seen some cool live all day videos.
Yeah.
That's a lot though. I
Yes,
think
Dennis from Cityscape. He does a really good job, but he's a
does that.
talker too. Yeah, he's a good guy. He usually goes live on every other Sunday. So do like a Q and A, right? So they go from like
Oh, that's
8,
cool.
8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He's like 3 hours from me. Um,
Wow.
I thought about doing something similar to that. Like if once this channel gets maybe a little bit bigger to get a little more following, I'll maybe do like a Q and A. I think it'd be kind of fun. I've kind of kicked the can around about doing like a live brew day, and I may just do that. I think it'd be kind of fun just to turn on the camera and whoever shows up wants to talk, I'll talk. If not, I'll just no. There'll be more content out there.
Yeah, there's a couple of folks that do that. I've seen around like Bubble Gut Brewing. He's great.
Okay.
He does stuff and they like because he's brewing, but you were mentioning uh like tasting, and
Hmm.
understanding flavors. He's someone. They have a whole he has a whole crew of guys, of Funky and Bumpy and a couple guys that are
Like it.
they're great. And I just they being able to describe and
Hmm.
taste the beer is something that's a weakness of mine.
Hmm.
I'm trying to improve that to explain it rather than just being like, I like it.
Right. It's
It
beer.
it tastes great, but and you know what you like and you know
Yeah.
what other people like and stuff like that. But to really describe it and break it down,
Right.
that's a true skill
Hmm.
that I do not have.
Hmm.
But those guys are great. I like, watch this, but they'll do live group stuff like
Okay. I'll have
that,
to
and
try
it
to check
looks
them
real
out.
well. It's real interesting, and yeah, it's. But yeah,
That's really
we'll
cool,
keep
man. Yeah.
working on that. Yeah.
So I kind of want to. So like in your last video, you did an Irish Red. I kind of want to
Oh,
talk
did
about.
you watch it?
I did watch that one. Yeah,
I just
I think
released
that
that
was
this
what
week.
was
Yeah,
that Thursday?
yeah,
I think it came out. Maybe I thought
yeah,
it was
yeah.
Thursday or so. So I did watch
Hmm.
it. Um, I did want to talk about the closed loop configuration that you have set up. And so
Oh,
for the
sure.
listeners that don't know what that is, if you mind starting there first and then talk about your closed loop and how it works.
Sure. It's just when you're transferring from your fermenter to your kegs. Now, I mean, that could be in smaller batches going to bottles, and that's kind of a whole different thing, I guess. But really, it's just about avoiding oxidation.
Hmm.
And I think it does maybe get a little overblown of how much of a concern it is. It definitely is a big concern for hop forward beers. If you're
Hmm.
doing, if you're using a lot of hops, because it just, it will destroy the aromas and flavors. And oxidation is, you know, it's the death of food, right? I
Hmm. Yeah,
mean,
right.
or
Yeah.
anything like that. So it's doing the closed loop transfer is rather than just dumping it from the fermenter into the keg and letting it hit oxygen, and then you're closing it up and that oxygen's in there, and then it's
Hmm.
going to slowly over time oxidize, the beer. That's what I'm trying to avoid. And I just
Hmm.
decided, I mean, I did open transfers for years. I mean,
Okay.
over a decade, um, and never really noticed any significant problems. But like many things, it's like you do stuff over and
Hmm.
over and over again. You kind of maybe lose a sensitivity to it. These are things that I was thinking about. And I was
Hmm.
like, well, maybe I don't taste the oxidation anymore. I'm just used to this. But if someone else would, and why not? Why not close it? And it's really easy. So what I do is the so my fermenter, it's from fermenter to keg.
Hmm.
So you've got your spout that's gonna you're filling your keg from, and it sits lower than the fermenter. So it's just a gravity
Hmm.
fill. So all you do is you hook up a connection from that spout
Hmm.
from the fermenter to the keg, and then the gas line, I run that back to the fermenter, and I just use components and pieces to
Mm-hmm.
fit everything, to whatever size
Mm-hmm.
spouts. And I mean, on the kegs, they're ball lock valves, so you just use those. But my airlock is what I used to you know, reconnect the line back up to my airlock.
Mm-hmm.
And all that's doing is just allowing that pressure to transfer and just cycle through. So it's gravity flowing into the keg, and the pressure from there is just the CO2 is just going back up in the fermenter. So
Mm,
you
makes
never
sense.
expose any oxygen to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of pressure in your fermenter
Mm-hmm.
from the fermentation process, and it's CO2 that's created by the yeast. Um, and now, of course, I do thoroughly purge the kegs
Oh
with
yeah.
CO2. So there's, nothing in there. And it's just a closed loop transfer, gravity transfer. And I mean, in different settings, you could do it with pumps and stuff, I'm sure, but
No, yeah, probably yeah.
it's just a real simple, basic process. And you could do it even if you were fermenting with buckets.
Uh,
You don't have to have like a big fancy conical fermenter to do it. You
mm-hmm.
just need a spout and a airlock. Um, and then whatever you're going into. It's a whole different thing if you're going into bottles, because your bottle filling, it's not usually like a fully sealed situation.
Right.
You're just doing it, and you're just making sure you're pushing it all the way, pushing any air out of there
Mm-hmm.
all the way out. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that's
I don't
very
know
true.
if that was good enough.
No,
Maybe
no, no, that was
watch my
perfect, actually.
videos.
Yeah, well, yeah,
It's
exactly. I
more
watched this
concise and
video.
less rambling.
No, no, that's perfect. Also, like, I think before I learned exactly what it was called, I think it was what I was trying to do. Because I use plastic fermenters, for the most part. So I would put my plastic fermenter on top of my keezer, then I'd just like gravity fill up the keg, which has already been purged with like CO2. But I
Right.
just open up the PRV valve, right? So just the CO2
Yep.
kind of comes out that way. One thing I've been trying to
Yeah,
toy
you can do
with,
that.
if I could line up another keg that's maybe filled up with star sands and push the star sands out. So like have the fermenter, the bucket fill up the keg, pushes out the CO2. The CO2 goes into the keg with the star sands, pushes the star sands out. Now it's full of CO2 and ready to go whenever I need it. That's my
Right.
next step. I guess I close, somewhat close, I guess, because it's not feeding back to the bucket. So
The
semi-closed.
reason, yeah, the only reason to really to do that is, if you like, if I'm just doing a transfer, like I actually did with my hazy
Uh-huh.
IPA, where I put I dry hopped in a keg, and then I transferred it to another keg to get it off. And that's
Oh, okay,
totally
yeah.
you just open the PRV valve and let it drain, and then the pressure can equalize and it will drain. But in this situation, from your fermenter to your vessel, your
Mm-hmm.
keg, or whatever it is, if you open the PRV valve, it will release the pressure in that
Mm-hmm.
keg so that it will go in. But eventually, you're going to get negative pressure in your fermenter or your bucket,
Okay.
and it's going to have to pull air in from somewhere. And actually, it can pull it in through your airlock. So
Oh,
it's going to end
interesting.
up,
Yeah.
you end up kind of defeating you could defeat the purpose.
Gosh, yeah.
Um, because it's
Makes
just going to
sense.
pull air in, and maybe even whatever liquid and sanitizer fluid you have in
Mm-hmm.
that airlock too, it could pull it into your beer. So that's why I'm looping and connecting that, so
Gotcha.
that you don't get negative pressure in your fermenter that
That makes
pulls
total
air in.
sense. Yeah.
But
Very.
that's
So I do see that you're a do it yourself individual. So you have like the close connection thing. It looks like you have a couple like fridge kegerator conversions that you've done.
uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, so for somebody who wants to start building or modifying their own equipment, like what's like an easy introduction to a do it yourself project you would recommend?
Well, I think, I think a lot of people will jump right to the like cold storage, or
Mm,
like they make a kegerator. I did that. It's really easy. I got an old fridge
mm,
the first time. I mean, I did it to two of them, and now I did finally, after all these years, break down and bought a really nice 4 tap kegerator, and it's fantastic. I
There
love
you
it. I
go.
can hold 4 corny kegs in there, so four out of 4 different types of beer on tap, and it's
Nice.
just great. And but and now that I have my old kegerator that I made, I'm using that for cold storage, and I'm going to
Mm.
lager in it now too. I do want a nice. Of course, like everybody, I want all awesome new equipment. I want a glycol chiller and everything else, but I
Yeah.
finally decided I'm just going to use uh, that for cold storage to do some lagering. Um, but anyway, so yeah, the first time I just went and bought a fridge with
Mhm.
a freezer, and it's really easy. You're just drilling holes through the front of the door
Mm.
for however many taps you want. And so that's a pretty easy DIY project. I kind of funny story. The first one I did it, and then I went for about a year that I didn't brew any beer. And this was a, a while ago, and I just unplugged it and wasn't using it. Then the spring came,
Mhm.
and I was like, I need to start brewing beer again. And I was like, I need to get that ready. And I decided I wanted to refinish it. So I sanded the whole out because it was kind of a cool retro looking one.
Mhm.
And I sanded it all down, and I taped it all off, and I spray painted it all like black. Oh, that got it all looking real nice and everything. And I got it all done, and I plugged it in, and the compressor just decided it didn't want to work
Oh,
anymore.
that sucks.
I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And did that, and I was just like, I'm not even. And if anyone that's, if you mess with refrigerators and freezers or whatever, and okay,
Mhm.
it's really not worth trying to replace the compressor in it.
Right.
I just, it's like it would cost more than,
Oh,
yeah. So
probably.
I
Yeah.
just said, forget it, it's fine. And I got rid of it, and I got another one. And then I put more in, and then I put 2 taps in that one, the new one. So it's just getting the right equipment. You're drilling holes through it, and you want to make sure that you don't get a fridge that has like any kind of lines in the door,
Mhm.
refrigerant lines in the door. Most of them they don't, the older ones
Right.
don't. But it's just a hole drill, a drill with a hole saw, I
Mhm.
think is what you call it, and you just get the size that is the shank for the draft assembly, and you just drill it through. And then what I actually did was I got some PVC tubing because I realized, because once you stick it through, it has clamps on each side, it's basically
Mhm.
nuts that screw on. And with the material of the refrigerator door, it was
Oh.
squishing
Okay.
everything.
Yeah.
So I got a PVC tube that I cut, and I messed with it, measured it, and got it just right so that it would pinch just enough to hold tight, but then it would lock onto that PVC tube and not crush the door and insulation, and I could get it real tight. And then it's just your connections to your kegs,
Mhm.
and that's pretty much it. And that's what a lot of people seems to be, that, or for lagering for cold storage, is converting an old freezer, chest freezer,
Yeah.
or something like that. Um, the the cook kettle and the mash tun that I use and that stuff,
Mhm.
that's a little bit beyond me because I'm not a welder. I
Yeah,
do
fair
a
enough.
lot of things, but I'm not a welder, and I have friends that are welders. So if you're going to start welding spouts and putting in thermal gauges and false bottoms, or
Mhm.
doing different things like that, you need to know how to weld.
You're
So
right.
that's that. But otherwise, it's just kind of like fittings and
Mm,
lines and
that's true.
connections, and there's so much available today too. They make it kind of easy, especially all this duotite systems. That's
Oh
really
yeah, I
nice.
just started. I bought some of them. I'm slowly converting mine over to that. It's nice, really nice.
Yeah. You can make all kind of manifold systems for your gas
Mhm.
lines, and that's so, like, so that if you're hooking up your CO2 tank to whatever you're supplying, you can make manifolds and have
Mhm.
multiple different, feed different kegs, or, whatever
Yeah.
your application is. But
Yep.
I don't know, I'm starting to ramble. What else?
No, no, that's pretty. No, I liked. So I'm stuck on the shank. I'm gonna call it the shank wrap. I've not seen that. I've seen people drill the holes in the refrigerator door and put the shank through and just tighten it up. But I think
Yeah.
you're onto something by putting that little bit, the PVC pipe, slightly undercutting it so you can get a good bite without crushing the front of the door, so you don't have this weird little wrinkle in it or whatever, or potentially
Yeah.
breaking the plastic from the inside. Like I've never seen that before.
Yeah,
So
it
I
works
think that's
great.
a really good idea. So if anybody listening
Yeah,
thinking about doing that, maybe invest, a couple, a few bucks in some PVC piping and go that route.
yeah, and just get the right size.
Yeah.
And that's what yeah, I just, I thought of it and hadn't, and
Right.
that's what I would say. Like, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a welder, but I can, and I'm not a specialist in most things. I am probably a jack of all trades, master of
Ex-
none type situation. But, um, those little things like that is generally where I'm always my mind is going. I'm like, what? Okay, this is how to do it, and I can have someone help me do it. But what can I add to this?
yeah. Yeah.
Try to solve a problem. But yeah, that was some there. Yeah,
Yeah. I
it
think it's a
works real nice.
brilliant idea.
Um,
So, and then you just brought up one of my favorite phrases. Like, I've always been told by my grandfather, it's better to be as a jack of all trades, kind of individual. But I like the full quote better. Like, so a jack of trades, but a master of none is oftentimes better than a master of one.
oh, there you go.
So that's how the
Yeah,
whole thing goes. So like
right.
it's always, I mean, I feel like I am a Renaissance man in a way. Like I enjoy so many different hobbies. I've painted. I used to do acrylic painting, oil painting. I've done
Yeah.
woodworking, golfing, hunting, not hunting, but fishing, all sorts of kind of stuff. I love all sorts of things like so. Um, I'm passionate about hobbies. So, but again, like you're saying earlier, like, we're both the same age. So you start thinking like, okay, I have to get rid of some of these hobbies. So I just don't have time to do these things. And if I was retired, maybe I would have some of the time to do all those things, but I just really don't. So speaking of time, you do have now. You like to make vinegar from beer. I'm
Yes.
very curious. Like, how does that work? Like, what is the process of doing that?
So it's kind of wild. I just I thought it was. I mean, vinegar is so cool. I mean, I guess really it's alcohol is what's really cool. I mean, they're molecularly, I think they're almost exactly the same. Um, but vinegar, the difference is the introduction of oxygen,
Mm,
to it. Um, and that's why, hey, wines
mm,
sat out. It it tastes like vinegar.
mm,
So, and I just always found it amazing, the qualities of like alcohol for not only, for preservation, food preservation, and this stuff. Thousands of years ago,
mm,
we were figuring this stuff out
right?
as a human species, and it's just wild for, for safe drinking
Mm,
beverages. It's like and storing food
mm,
and beverages as well. But yeah, the process is pretty much you're just opening it up.
okay.
Get, I usually decarbonate it. You stir it. You got to let it warm up. Um, and then the mother of vinegar is what you're using, but that's just a good way to just get a jump start on it. You can
Okay.
do it naturally, but it takes a lot longer, and you're relying on the what's this cetobator the it's bacteria,
Mm,
um the acidic bacteria. Geez, I just forgot the name of it. But yeah, so that gets in there and transforms the alcohol into
mm,
vinegar with the
okay.
introduction of oxygen. So if it's already, so pH is really important, and that's what I've learned when I was doing it. Like, you need a low pH
Mm,
to really help it kick off well, because you don't want mold to set in. There's, and
true.
so yeah, the process is doing that, but you need to keep it exposed to air. So it's like the biggest difference. We're always making sure we don't introduce oxygen, and that's because we want it to stay beer. We
Yeah.
want it to stay. But if you want to make it into vinegar, well, it's the complete opposite. You want that. You want the oxidation.
Okay.
You want exposure to the oxygen, because that's what makes it work.
Hmm.
Um, and I am no vinegar expert. It was something that I just started doing on my own and experimenting with,
Mhm,
and there's surprisingly seems to be very little good like information or what I would find of really of videos that explain it really well and take you
mhm,
through the whole process like you could find a video about beer.
mhm,
Um, there's lots of stuff out there, but I had to read. I've read a lot about a bunch of articles of how to do it and just kind of trying to figure out what is the best alcohol percentage,
mhm,
what is to start with
mhm,
of whatever you're using. And I mean, you can make vinegar out of anything that has alcohol in it, um, and the right pH to have, and yeah, and then it was just like I did with beer, and I
mhm.
just started doing that a couple years ago with
Okay, okay.
the vinegar. But just like when I was started brewing beer, it was just experimentation. I just kept
Mhm.
doing it and trying it, and came out real good. And yeah, I've pickled some peppers from my garden
Okay,
with it, and
okay.
it's really cool to me
No,
why I
that's
was doing it
yeah.
was like I'm making my own beer.
Mhm,
I'm using that beer to make my own vinegar,
mhm.
and then I'm pickling my own vegetables that I grew in my garden. And I was like, I just think that's rad, you know?
No, dude, that
That's
is
all,
awesome. That is really
you
cool.
know?
No, so, like,
But
now do certain beers make better vinegars? Or add more flavor maybe even?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think like the complexity, like I used the cranberry oatmeal stout to make
Mhm.
that last batch that was really successful. And it's just the complexity of it is was really good. I mean, essentially, we're making it's malt vinegar, right?
Yeah.
So if you're looking, I think of like the spectrum of vinegars and what they are. Um, but yeah, if it's going to add, different complexities, and there's a lot of vinegar gurus out there. I know that are, probably have very strong opinions about that. But yeah, it absolutely it's different. If you're just going to make a vinegar out of um, just a light ale,
Mhm.
blonde or something like. Oh, well, big thing, no hops. You don't you
Oh,
don't want hops.
so you don't wanna have, like, a New England or West Coast?
No, yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's probably the most important thing if we make it. I mean, hey, I don't know, maybe someone would differ and be like, "No,
Mhm.
I like weird hop flavors in my vinegar," but I it's a big you want to use a beer that is not hop forward as little
Okay.
as possible. Because the hops are it really messes with it. Malt vinegar's not made with, you know,
Right.
anything with do with hops.
Have you ever tried making, like,
Um,
kombucha?
I have not. I had a friend that
Okay.
used to make it years ago. I've thought about it,
Yeah, I was just kinda
but
curious 'cause it seems like you're just, like, one step away from but, making
right.
that stuff, right? And then you make hard kombucha, which some people really enjoy. I think it's just I think it's an interesting beverage, right? Because alcohol, kombucha, but I feel like the acid burn is just a little too much for me. Like, I have a hard time just drinking. Like, I have a hard time with, like,
Yeah.
sours. I don't drink a lot of I can't I have a hard time drinking sours. Like, they usually bother my throat. I have acid
I'm not
reflux issues
into them either.
anyways, so
Yeah, I
I think they
understand.
smell phenomenal. Like, I'm supposed to
Right.
smell great. I'm like, go taste them. I'm like going,
Yeah.
"Ah, I can't drink a pint of this. I can drink what I just sipped. That's about it. I need to move on from this." So,
But yeah, no, it's cool. Like, yeah, what do they call it? The SCOBY, I think,
yeah.
with those,
Oh,
and
yeah, it's a weird
rather
looking
than
thing.
a yeah, and it's basically seemed very similar to
Mhm.
the mother vinegar, and it's just a gelatinous blob of bacteria.
Yeah, it's so
So
weird.
yeah, it is weird, but it's like, we figured this out thousands of years ago, and it's pretty awesome. And the other cool thing about it is once you've done it and you've made it, I mean, I have a jar stored under my stairs in my basement,
Mhm.
I have a cold storage room in my
Okay.
basement. And it's jarred mother. I can reuse it
Mhm.
for new batches, and it lasts like indefinitely.
Yeah.
Like I was reading in articles about like families from, Italy immigrating in different places from all over the world, really just immigrating like, they're your grandmother, like people being handed down their mothers of vinegar from their grandmother
Mm,
that's been in the family,
that's
like their
cool.
family line for, I don't know, 100 years or maybe even more. Like
Right.
they're handing down these, like, oh, here's our,
Hmm.
here's our family vinegar base. So
Yeah.
it's pretty culturally amazing, and it's just such a part of our, our global culture.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I've heard stories about like sourdough starters, or excuse me,
Mhm.
not stories, but sourdough itself, like being a couple hundred years old. As long as you treat it right, you feed it, and all that kind of stuff, it can last a very long time. So I thought that was kind of neat. I forget where I saw that at. Some cooking show. Maybe it was Alton Brown was maybe talking about. It. I really enjoyed the show back in the day. But I remember him talking about like sourdough starters, if treated right, can last hundreds of years and be passed around and stuff like that. I thought that was really interesting overall.
What's the
So,
amazing thing about yeast and
hmm,
bacteria and all those things? They're all, like you
oh
have,
yeah,
if you have enough yeast in there, it dominates and no other harmful bacteria
hmm,
can take root. And then, same thing with those acidic bacteria.
hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Cool.
you were saying earlier about only changing very few variables in a
Yeah.
recipe itself. So when you haven't like a recipe nailed down, do you still find yourself tweaking it a little bit, or do you kind of consider that done to kind of leave it alone?
I I have recipes that are I consider done. I leave
Okay.
it alone. My amber Hefeweizen is I've been brewing that the longest. I leave that alone.
Mm.
I did make some. I started messing with it a little bit a few years ago, and I just I was like, no, no, no. What am I doing? And it's just leave it alone and move on. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, yeah, I do, but mostly it's if I like right now, I've really been into brewing with corn lately.
Okay.
And I have so I'll tweak those recipes now a little bit. So it really just yeah. Short answer is I have recipes I don't touch anymore, and I have some that I'm still working on.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
perfect. So
yeah.
when developing a new recipe, like what is your process?
It's always um I've looked online and looked at recipes. I've
Hmm.
definitely like looked at a bunch of different recipes.
Hmm.
I'll see like, okay, what's this person doing for that? What are they doing for this? That's definitely a part of the process.
Hmm.
I've looked at clones too. I think, that's what a lot of people do as well, is, you
Yeah.
get online and go, I'm looking to make X type beer,
Hmm.
you know, and it's a beer that they like and drink, and you can try to get a clone recipe. The thing is they seem to be it's vastly different.
Hmm.
Like I've gone through all of them, and so I'll start by doing that. I'll look at something
Hmm.
and go, okay, and then I'll look at the recipe and figure with my experience have done like, do I want to do it that way? And I'll usually or not, and then I might make changes.
Hmm.
Um, Early on, and I guess I still, to a degree, fall back on this. Early on, I used to just go by like a pound per gallon
Okay.
system. Like I knew it was close enough. I was like, all right, it seems to be that I need about 2 pounds of grain for every gallon. So and then I'll look at percentage, and you need your base malt. So I
Hmm.
was like, if I'm doing a 10-gallon batch, I need roughly 20 pounds of grain. Um, and that's where I would start. And I
Okay.
would say, okay, out of that, I love Maris Otter as a
Hmm.
base grain. I
Oh
always
yeah, that's
have.
good.
So I would just say, okay, I'm gonna use 12 pounds of Maris Otter. And now what else am I gonna add? And then I would
Hmm.
just, start to break it down. And then I would, yeah, literally just go back and forth with the math until I like a ratio, and then I'd try it. And
Yep.
I go, all right, I'm gonna try this. So that's you know, that's kind of how I evolved with doing it.
Hmm.
And nowadays there's so much more information out there. It's great. Like
Yeah.
you can look and get 100 different. Maybe it's too much sometimes though, because
Yeah.
it can be overwhelming and like just and that's where I think just don't obsess over anything. Just make a
Yeah.
decision and do it.
Yeah, so you can definitely get into analysis paralysis because I find myself in
Yeah.
that way, right? So like I'll like trying to think of what the last thing I brewed. No, okay, so I did a close. I think the recipe is fine,
Oh, okay.
but I definitely went down that hill of like looking at like I don't know, I probably looked at 100 different different recipes. Look at
Yeah,
the
you
different
can go
variety
down
of
the rabbit hole.
hops and different yeast they're
Yeah.
using and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like, and of course this is my third or fourth attempt doing it, and it's getting better every time. I messed up on the cold side. Like I use a yeast I've never used before, and for
Okay.
some reason I thought it was an ale yeast, so I fermented at ale temperatures, but it was a lager yeast.
Oh,
So I think that kind of messed with the flavor a little bit. It was super bready, which I mean wasn't a huge turnoff, but it was like it was really really bready. To remember the other off flavor I didn't really care for about it. I
so
can't
did it not
recall right
full?
now.
It didn't fully ferment out
I
and
don't think
was
it really did.
it
I think
didn't
it was
dry
either
out
no,
enough
it
and was
didn't
too
dry out enough.
sweet.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So knowing that, I can try that yeast again and lager it, or try a different yeast strand and do it that way. So like, I think I like the base recipe. I think I'm gonna keep it. Now I just got to figure out like what yeast and how I want to attack it that way, right? Because close is an ale at the end of the day. So
Yeah, at the end, that's a
uh,
I've never brewed one. I've wanted to for years. I probably will do it soon.
yeah,
That sounds awesome. I think that
that's
yeah, because
really
it
simple.
is almost considered, I think, almost hybridized, I think, in
Yeah,
ways of
alt
ale and
beer.
lager.
Can we'll call it alt beer because that's
Yeah,
a. I guess over in Germany they fight you over that because you have cloches in one region of Germany and alt beers somewhere else, right? So I guess they would probably beat you up if you told them there was a an alt
right.
beer. But
Yeah.
no, but yeah, hybrid I think is
I think
quite
that
right.
Kveik yeast? That might
Kveikis
work
is
good for
really
that.
cool. It
That
probably
might
could,
work good
yeah.
for
It
that.
may turn really quick because
Yeah.
it won't impart any flavors because Kveik is bland.
Yeah, and you
Um,
can it can
hmm,
handle uh, higher temperatures,
that's
right?
true. Yeah, that's a good
But
idea. I
I
have
don't
to
know.
think about that. Yeah.
I don't know. Something to look into, maybe.
Yeah, no, why not? Yeah, I've used so I typically use Kveik on ciders
Mm,
because it doesn't impart flavor. So like one cider I make a lot, and you'll probably hear me talk about this, is a strawberry lemon hard cider, right? So I get strawberries from like Walmart because they're just cheap. Go to the frozen section. I'll let them defrost for like 12 hours or something like that. I'll hand crush them in the bag. And then I
right.
would get lemon peel, or I would get lemons and then wash them off, get all the wax stuff off and just peel it, right? You don't want any of the pith because I'll make it too tart. It's just too
Yeah.
strong. And then I just use Kvike. In about 3 to 4 days, it's done. It's ready to go. And it's really
Okay.
good. It's a pretty pink color. It's really good in summertime as well too. So really simple. I usually make like a gallon of that because um, I'm the only one that actually drinks it. So I really don't want a
Right.
whole lot of it, but I actually do enjoy it. So a gallon, perfectly fine with me.
I'm thinking about doing a couple small, like a small batch of cider and a small
Yeah,
batch of mead. I have a
yeah.
friend who really wants to brew some mead, and I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And I don't like really sweet stuff. I
Okay.
never have, but I've tried some like really good dry cider
Okay.
recently,
Yeah.
and so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just do some small batch. I'll probably just stovetop,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
stovetop, small batch of cider and a small batch of mead. I want to do
Yeah.
that. I like all things brewing. That's another thing about the whole community
Oh
that,
my gosh. Yeah.
like we
So much
don't,
fun.
like it does, you don't have to just be a beer
No.
brewer or, it's like all of it,
So
all things
much out
brewing.
there. So much stuff out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing about cider, I don't know if you ever had a bunch of homemade cider before. Like I call it rental farts. Has that really
Oh boy.
sulfuric, eggy smell
Oh,
to it, right? So
yeah.
that happens. There's a few videos you can watch. I typically just kind of just deal with it. It will go away on its own, but it usually takes sometimes a
Takes
month.
time.
Yeah, about a
Yeah.
month. So you're always purging the keg, which so of course you're losing CO2 and like the money cost of that, blah blah blah. But there's a
Right.
splash method where you can actually hold the cider up higher. So like you have a vessel way up here and you have like another vessel here, so you want to pour it in so oxygen hits it and helps remove some of that eggy smell. So it's not getting oxygenated. It's trying to remove that.
Yeah.
Another way is you can take like a copper rod, you put that in there. the
I was just
software
gonna
attached to
say,
that. It falls out, but then you have to, again, use a finding agent and all that kind of stuff. And
right,
I would hate to. I don't know if you can get sick from it or not, but I don't want to take that risk either. So I think you
right, because
splash
you're
them out
opening
then.
everything up. You're putting,
Yeah.
yeah. I had
So,
someone, actually, someone. It was a great comment on one of my videos that I did about because the sulfur that
uh,
suggested the copper rod, and I've been thinking about trying that, but
yeah.
yeah,
If you do,
right.
I
I
would
mean,
definitely
at
watch that video.
time, at least you do know that time does
Time does
solve
something. Yep.
sulfur problem will be solved by time, but
Exactly.
we can't wait.
No, yeah, that's the problem too. Like, I gotta get to tell this story. I gotta pick up my wife a little bit. I do it once in a while. So the first time I made beer, I had it all done. It was cooled off. I had it in the fermenting bucket. She's like, "Can you drink it?" Like, nope, not yet. I was like, I gotta wait for it to do its thing for like a week or so, maybe 2 weeks. She's like, okay. And then I was bottling it. She's, can you drink it? And I was like, nope. Now I gotta let it bottle, condition, or carve, and wait another couple weeks. She's like, wow, that's a
Right.
long time. I'm like, yeah, it kind of is, but it's still fun though, regardless. Oh
The
man.
payoff's worth it
Yes, it
when it
is.
turns
Oh, it's
out.
so much
So
fun. One
yeah.
thing I noticed in your form, like you never said anything about doing any competitions. Is there like a reason behind
Oh,
that, or just never really thought about it?
I now I do. I've been thinking about it a
Okay.
lot more now. No, in the past
Mm.
I never even considered it. It wasn't
Okay.
something that like I said, I've been a recluse beer brewer for
Hmm.
over 20 years, where it was just my immediate community, friends and family. Like, I mean, I made beer for like a wedding, close friends of
I
mine.
did see
I
that. Yeah, that
brought
was cool.
beer, and then I remember, when I moved to Oregon, there was a group of people that I was hanging out for a while that they were kind of from all over the place.
Mm.
It's kind of same thing. So one of my friends he would have annual Thanksgiving parties at
Okay.
his
Yeah. Yeah.
house. Like, it
Yeah.
was like for people that didn't have family
Hmm.
there, and so everyone would get together, and I would brew beer and bring it there, and just and then I would take it to work, like a couple like offices removed back. I mean, who I work for now, that's been 16 years, but the office I worked for before then, I would bring it into office parties. I've brought it into office parties where I work now. I've hosted parties at the house, and that was kind of just, and then I drank it myself and I give it to friends,
Hmm.
other friends and everything. And that's just kind of how I did it. And I wasn't in the community of, I wasn't part of brew clubs. I wasn't doing competitions. I didn't have any sense of like, I wasn't trying to be a beer brewing champion, like it wasn't what I was doing. But then I realized, the kind of the value in it to just get those other opinions and how it can improve what you're
Oh
doing too.
yeah.
So I'm interested now, and at like the Oregon Brew Crew, I just
Hmm.
joined. It hasn't even been a year. I feel really bad because I've kind of fallen off too. I'm just not very active. I've just so much going on, and I'm
Hmm.
not very active, to be honest. And and then it's unfortunate too. Steinbart's, which is a local Portland um, homebrewing supply store,
Hmm.
is shutting down, and it's a big deal
Hmm.
because they're over 100 years old. It's the oldest
Mm.
home brewing supply store in the entire country,
Ah, sad.
and they kind of made their whole way through prohibition and
Mm.
all of that. But that closed as well. The industry's, kind of, like we talked about, it's getting kind of, it's tough times,
Hmm.
it seems to be, for home brewing. A lot, you get everything online now and people can do it. But that location housed the primary meetings
Okay.
for the Oregon Brew Crew. So now it's changed to a different location, which is fine, but it's changed, and it's actually further away from me, and I'm figuring it all out. But anyway, I'm kind of sidetracking here. Yeah, competitions. Um, of course, if you're part of uh, brewing clubs,
Hmm.
they're involved in that. It gives a little bit more of an outlet to that, and be like, that you even know it's available. Hey, there's a competition coming up.
Hmm.
If you got, even knowing about those things. So
Right.
that was the part too. It was like I wouldn't even know that. there was a competition. And then there's the packaging of it. I think that will
Yeah.
always I was always just like, oh, I don't even know how to package this. I got to ship it somewhere and but I'm
Hmm.
getting all over all that now and figuring it out and thinking about doing it because I have just have friends that are like, I mean, they're basically for years they're like, dude, you should do this. Like,
Hmm.
your stuff's amazing. Like, you get it out there, get it out there. And I'm like, all right, well, all right, yeah, I'll do that. But we yeah. So we'll see. But it was just never on my. It
Yeah, I think you'll have
was never
fun
even a
doing it.
thought to me
Yeah, I
in the
haven't
past.
done a national anything. I'm not shipping my beer anywhere to get judged by like my
Right.
homebrew club I belong to. We have competitions this year.
You have competition.
I think we have 5 this year. So like next week is our first one of the year. So I have
That's
a
cool.
hazy pale ale. It's at 5.5%. I think it's at 38 IBUs, and I used. I want to say I think it's called Alena or Lena. So it's ELANI hops. So it has like
Okay.
tropical notes and white
Okay.
peach and a few other odds and ends. So I basically took my Sierra Nevada clone base recipe and just changed the hops and I think the yeast as well too, right? Because I had some hops I needed to get rid of. I was like, oh, this is probably good just to use. Like the next one we
Okay.
got,
Something similar to like a mosaic or something like
yeah,
that.
pretty close
Or
to it, I'd say,
yeah.
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 Then not next month, but the month after that, we're it's Goza. I've never made a Goza before,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
so I'm doing a
That's a
yeah.
whew.
So I'm trying to do a strawberry margarita Goza. So I have finally had the
That's
recipe figured out after reading a bunch of different stuff, and I was like, all right, I'm done. I don't like super sour stuff, so mine's more tart, which I feel Gozas are
okay.
more tart anyways.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I'm using acidulated malt. I think is how you say it, right? The acid malt
Yep.
to bring it down. I think it
Get
should
that pH.
be like 4 point something. I can remember, like 4.2, 4.3, the pH level, which probably be good for
Yeah.
my palate. Of course, we use salt. I already got the strawberry puree,
Yep.
right? I'm gonna have that in secondary. So in my mind, it sounds good. We've come back to like the whole recipe thing. So it'd be interesting. I never made one before, so it'd be kind of cool. Uh, but that's one thing I do like about the competitions because it forces me to make stuff that I've never thought about making ever.
Yeah.
Right. So it kind of puts you in that thing. Like I have a board over here that I look at all the time. Like I have all these beers I want to make this year.
Yep.
And so far I made one. And so I've not even got close to the other ones right yet. So I have like Dunkel, a Belgian. I'm gonna do a Belgian double. I got a barley wine, which I am gonna do with a friend of mine. We're gonna do a barrel aged barley wine. That's gonna be pretty interesting.
That sounds cool. Yeah.
Pineapple mead and a strawberry mango cider. So I'm gonna get rid of the lemon and do mango this year. I'm gonna change it up a little bit.
Okay.
So more fruity summer kind of beverage. I think would be kind of cool. So
Yeah.
speaking of the homebrew club, like you said, it's kind of hard to get to. It's been hard to meet up. Well, like so, since you joined this a brew club, you haven't been able to go as often as you would like to. But
Right.
what were some of the benefits that you've gained from joining a brew club?
It's great. I mean, I did have the opportunity to bring in beer and
Mm-hmm.
have folks that are totally outside of my circle,
Mm-hmm.
try it, and that's great. And just seeing everyone else's opinions about what they're doing, and it really is neat because they do have internal competitions. The way that they do it
Mm-hmm.
is it's groups. So that they'll
Okay.
form
Yeah.
groups and like you'll have kind of like, all right, at this person's like they're
Mm-hmm.
almost like team leaders,
Mm-hmm.
like where you're gonna like a group of people will get together and brew when they're set up,
Mm-hmm.
and they do that, and that's been really neat to go and be part of the tastings and all. I haven't partaken in any of those as well. It's one of those things where I'm like, I I mean, the limited time and what I'm doing with everything else in my life,
Mm-hmm.
let alone beer brewing, I have I know maybe it's selfish, but I already have my own brewing schedule. I'm like, I
Yeah.
know what I'm brewing and what just like you said, you've got a list up of
Mm-hmm.
that you want to do, and I'm like, that's what I'm working on right now,
Yeah.
So that just to be honest, I mean, it is, you know, I but the group is great. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really nice to go and sit with people and discuss. You're all like-minded and
Mm-hmm.
talking about it. And that was a real big part too, was going into our little internal
Mm,
competitions and doing the tasting
yeah.
and sitting down, and because yeah, it's like you have to describe someone else's beer, what flavors you're getting out of it
Mm-hmm.
and what you think of. You're basically trying to rate it, right? Judge it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's been great. And the people are just great, so that's nice,
There you go. Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah.
I think they're a big benefit. 'Cause like you, when I first started, I didn't know of any homebrew clubs in the region, and somebody was telling me about one, and I joined it. And at that time, they were all up there in age. So
Uh,
they've been brewing like 30, 40 years. A lot of them were, so they weren't really teaching anymore, but they were
right.
still like bottle sharing for the most part, which is fine. It kind of got me into it. They gave me a lot of insights, some options to try. They recommended, different books to read. So I got the John Palmer How to Brew Beer. I read that book. Gosh, like I think I'm on my third time. I'm just rereading it because he has some pretty interesting other recipes in there that I thought about trying. Um,
Hmm.
and then I picked up Gordon Strong's Brewing Better Beer, which I have on my desk right now in front of me. I'm kind of skimming through that. It's pretty interesting to. Um, I'm trying to correlate to like how I brew my beer versus the way he does his, right? Because I think he has a three vessel system and I have a brew in a
Very
bag. So
vessels.
it's not a 1-to-1. So I'm still trying to figure out like, okay, he's doing all this stuff. Like how can I make that work with my system? Because he has a really cool, heavy recipe in here that sounds really neat. He does like step meshing, which I've
Yep.
never done, which I thought about, okay, that may be kind of cool to do. So then the other homebrew club that I joined, which is they're really big in education. I think every other meeting, so in between competitions, we have like education stuff. So
Yeah.
we have one guy who I'm gonna drop his name. His name's Tyler. He's a brilliant young man. He does water chemistry for all sorts of different companies or like around the world. So we had a whole lecture on like water chemistry, way above my head. So it was all chemistry stuff, like grad level chemistry. But it was really neat to watch him give that presentation. He was just so passionate about it. Then our president
Right.
Kobe, he's very passionate about mead making, so he gave this hour-long presentation on mead and all the stuff that's involved in making mead. Great presentation. I did my short and shoddy. I did not do anything.
Yeah.
He's like, it's like I'm not doing all that. That's just too much work. But he's also spends, I don't know how much money he spends on honey, but let's say hundreds of dollars on honey because he's buying honey from
Yeah.
around the world. So he wants a product that's going to turn out great. I just went to Sam's and I bought their big old thing of honey and I made my meat out of that because I was just trying to figure it out, right? So it was nice, like you said, it's really great to have other people's opinion. Um,
Getting those people that are
yeah,
like specialists too, like you're
yeah.
saying,
Oh
just to
man, it's so
bounce off
great.
that a little bit, because like a water profile and
Yeah.
chemistry. Like, I mean, you know, I try to get into the nitty gritty of it, but at some point too, I'm doing a lot of this. I'm like, yeah, that looks
Yeah,
good,
looks good.
right?
Yep.
There we go. That's gonna work, But just to be honest, where
Yeah.
and then it's really cool to meet somebody that's like, wow, okay, they've got this really dialed in.
Oh my gosh, some of them
Um,
do. Yeah, it's good. It's
yeah.
really interesting. Yeah. And then like,
So
oh, because he even talked about like RO versus distilled versus spring versus like all the different stuffs, and it was really really neat. Yeah, if I could probably find like the document. If you're interested, I can just email it to you if you just want to kind of skim his
sure.
presentation. It's pretty neat. It's really
That's
good.
one of that's one of those things that like I was really fortunate, and I didn't realize it for years.
Mm.
Was living in Portland, Oregon, and it's Bull Run watershed
Mm.
that is it's some of the best low mineral content water in the world. Like
Okay.
in the great Northwest, Pacific Northwest of the United States up here, it's like the water is just amazing. And I didn't even know any of that. I mean, in the world, it's like some of the
Mm.
best water. So and I mean, I moved here and I'm just
Mm.
especially when was doing it early on, I'm just, yeah, right from the tap. Here we go. I'm
There you
brewing with
go.
water and had no idea like how much more difficult it was for people in other
Mm.
parts of the country and world of
Yeah.
like you've got horrible water. Now I know, I mean, I grew up in Maryland and the water was was not good there, but I wasn't brewing beer when I was there, so I didn't,
It's right.
filtering or water, but yeah, it's interesting, because it's such a low mineral profile water. It's
Hmm.
I just use some Campton tablets and
Yeah.
get rid of chlorine, and then I'll just build it up. It's almost like, I mean, it's not distilled water, obviously, but I'll just build up the water profile how I want it, and
There you
it
go.
works. It works really nice. So I'm pretty fortunate there.
Yeah. So my tap
Mm.
water tastes good to me, but I'm still scared to try. So I just buy distilled. I just don't want to have
Yeah,
another variable that I can't quite control. And I do know some cities change whatever mineral contents they put into the water based on the seasons and stuff like that
right.
too. And
It
I just,
changes.
yeah,
Yeah,
I just don't want to mess with it. And I live on the edge of the water line though too, so I'm the one way out from like the main water source itself. So like, who knows what goes on
by the
from
time it
way,
gets to
yeah.
you.
I mean, I could do like the wort sample, pay $30, but again, I'd have to do that a couple times a year. So spending
Yeah,
extra
because it
extra
just
$7,
changed.
yeah. So
It changes through the season. Yeah,
yeah.
no, totally. I've had people ask me on my videos like, "Why don't you use distilled water when I talk about it?" And I'm like, "Well, that's the point I keep making." And a couple people have joked with me. They're like, "Stop talking about Portland water, man." I'm like, "Well, it's." They're like, "You're just
But it's so
rambling on
good.
about Portland water," and I'm like, "But it's so good." But because there's a point behind it that is like.
Mhm.
That's why I'm not using distilled, or and I mean their water profile reports, it's wild.
Yeah.
There's just like nothing in it. I mean I mean minuscule parts per million of anything, and
Right.
I mean, it's just great. I don't, you don't even need to filter it to drink it. Just drink it from the water. So
That's
anyway,
awesome.
I'm lucky. I'm fortunate
You're
from it. And
very
but I do
fortunate.
know because I used to use, well, when multiple times early on too, I went and I didn't even realize how good our water was here.
Mm,
And when I first moved here and I was going and I was buying spring water from the grocery store
mhm,
and doing that. And then I did notice that all of a sudden from batch to batch, I was like, why is this different? I did everything exactly the same. I'm meticulous about my variables. Like I said, I don't change
mhm.
anything. I was like, why does this, it's something's different. And then I started looking around. I realized I'm like, oh, that spring water that you're buying from the grocery store, it's just groundwater from
Mhm.
all different places.
Yep.
It's can vary. You have no idea what's in it
Yeah,
for the
that's
mineral
very true.
profile. So go to distill. And I have distilled my own water and brewed with it too.
Okay.
I made a little like distilling setup that I've used. It's a lot of work.
I
though,
bet you it
the pro
is.
the propane that I had to use to do it, but yeah, I did a couple batches that way. I distilled my own water and did it. But then I realized, why am I doing all this?
Then when your
I
water's
take
just
advantage of the water I have.
fine. A
Yep.
little cheaper and
Yep.
you don't have to
So
drive, go get it all haul and all that kind of stuff. I definitely
that's
want to
it.
jump into like the martial arts
Yeah.
stuff. So you've been doing martial
Oh,
arts
okay.
for till
Yeah.
you're 6 years old. And you're same
Hmm.
age as I am, so mathing a lot of years. So what style are you studying or have studied?
It was predominantly Korean martial arts.
Okay.
So when I was 6, I started at and then back and then in the I mean in the 80s, that
Mm-hmm.
was like huge.
Yep.
It was Kim's Karate and Jun Ri. And they were like the Taekwondo,
Yep.
and that was kind of like all the rage, then the Taekwondo, and it became very commercialized in doing that. So I I was obsessed with it. I was consumed. I mean, that was what I did from 6, from the time I started. In those schools, I mean, they were just like a revolving door of just, kids come and go. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like anything. I mean, whatever you're
Mm-hmm.
doing as a kid, but that's what I don't know, my dad used to always tell me about that. He's just like you're just I was fixated, and he's like those other kids would just come and go. So I don't know. I got a first degree black belt there when I was 9 years old. So it took me 3 years
Wow.
obsessed
That's
with it.
insane. Yeah.
Again, I mean, hey, you're a 9-year-old kid with a black belt, but whatever, you're still a kid. But no, it's cool, it was cool. But it was like a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
This made a big deal of it. But I also was I was very shy. I've always been shy. I didn't want anybody to know. And like I didn't want, so like I never tell anybody about it. But so I was there, doing that. But then as being a kid in a school that was a very big commercialized school,
Mm-hmm.
that there wasn't really anything else to do. I did competitions. I would go do what they would call forms
Mm-hmm.
competitions or yukatas, but just and then sparring,
Mm-hmm.
and I would just that was it. And within the school, if you were an adult and you like went through the ranks, well, then you would start teaching maybe or doing something
Mm-hmm.
like that. But I was a kid. I was a 9-year-old kid, and it was boring. There was like nothing else. There was nothing else to do. And I've never been a big competition person. I did well always. I had all my trophies and stuff, but I didn't really care about that. I didn't want to do that. And I was going to stop doing it. And my father started looking around and trying to, because I was like, I don't want to do it anymore because, reasons. And my dad found this school, that was a small, very small, family oriented, just totally uh, Hillside Dojang. It was the Korean Martial Arts Academy. Al Gauthier is the master instructor there, and he created that whole school and system. The guy's amazing, and I'm obsessed with mixed martial arts and all martial arts. So my dad came across him, found him, and came and asked me. He said, "Hey, um, I wanted to." Want you to check this place out and see if you're interested." And I was like, okay, because simultaneously, at Kim's Karate, where I was going to, there was a group there that was also affiliated with East Coast Taekwondo and West Coast Taekwondo. And that's like Ernie Reyes. I don't know if you know who that is. The Reyes. It's a whole family that was involved back in that time. They were involved in movies and
Mm-hmm.
everything. Sidekicks.
Yep.
I don't know if you ever know that show.
Oh yeah.
That was Ernie Reyes. So his family and all, and I'm pretty sure he's our age. So simultaneously that was going on. Well, one of my instructors at that school that I was leaving, Apollo, he was, he wanted me to like continue on and like travel and compete. He was like, "Hey, look, I know the Rays, their family, their distant family as well. Like, why don't you travel and compete with me? You can maybe even get into movies at some point and do things like that." And I was like, "No, absolutely not." I was like, "No, nothing to do with that." And I'm out, and then I went and visited the school that my dad, introduced and found Al. And it was amazing. I mean, when I went to that school, and he basically was like, "Okay, there's no ego here. There's no competition here."
Hmm.
He's like, are you okay giving up your black belt and starting over? Are you, you need to learn history. You need to learn this is a whole mentality and a lifestyle. It was amazing. And I was like, yeah, sounds good. Let's do it. Just and basically started over. Of course, I went up really accelerated really quickly through the ranks. But it was just a very small. And what he had done was he was compiling mixed martial arts kind of like before it was a thing.
Hmm.
I mean, this was, you know, back then. So he was taking all of the Korean styles. Like, I mean, Taekwondo is, there's Tang Soo Do and there's Taekien and there's all these different styles in Budo Musul where they're like Aikido. Aikido's Japanese, but Hapkido is Korean. And,
Hmm.
um, some of them are striking versus grappling and those types of things. And what was going on with like jujitsu, and then which ultimately went into Brazilian
Hmm.
jiu-jitsu, and he was blending and mixing all of that and doing that
That's really
already.
cool.
So, um, where Taekwondo it was pretty much commercialized and sold and stuff, and maybe competition and um, just wasn't the same thing. So just got really involved there and
Mm-hmm.
dove back in and got like my, third degree black belt with his school and ultimately was head instructor there. And he also had his own tree company and landscaping company that he did on the side as well. So he taught me how to climb trees with gear and do that work. And I would work with him in the summers and I taught kids classes there
That's
and just
awesome.
it was just an amazing experience. And ultimately, eventually, I left and just started traveling the country. That's in Maryland on the East
Mm-hmm.
Coast and I'm in Oregon. And we keep in touch and I, you know, it's sad to leave and go do so many other things. And obviously, I'm like a forever a martial artist, but I'm trying to instill it into my children as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that, I need to train more. I'm always telling myself, okay, I need to get back into training. I'm not doing or anything. So, but it's always been a big part of my life. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's kind of the wham, like there it is, the overview like
Oh,
of
that
of
is
that
awesome.
history, but
Yeah, that's so
yeah,
cool.
and it's really a mix of all like like the Huarong Do is ancient, there's the Southeast Asian history is uh I mean it's long
Mm-hmm.
and complicated and it's amazing how these martial arts styles you know intertwined and different systems. And then a lot of it too, I mean, the Shaolin and, that like Budo Musul would be, you know, it, it's monk, Korean monk, uh,
Mm-hmm.
fighting styles that were, kind of similar to like the Shaolin of China. And, there's lots of crossover. I mean, Japanese styles like Aikijitsu is, you know, was more of, kind of a combat, elite hand-to-hand combat fighting style that ultimately, then there's Aikido from Aikijitsu, but that was the very soft style. It's not
Mm-hmm.
striking and it's just energy manipulation and
Mm-hmm.
redirection. And Hapkido and Korean styles were similar to that. And Jujitsu, Aikijitsu, that was also went into Jujitsu where what they were and Judo, where
Mm-hmm.
judo's, you kind of know what judo is, but jujitsu is extensively grappling only and not relying on striking very much. But mixing it all together and
That's
then it
great.
was, his school was truly the place of like, kind of the cliche of like almost it's kind of funny. We joked about it years later of like Karate Kid back in the early, the 80s. And it's like
Wax on, wax
you
off.
know, but like you learn to fight so you don't have to,
Yes.
that mentality.
Yes. Yep.
Not the and it's how you carry yourself and conduct yourself as a human being. And it's and not having fear and having and also having confidence and you the way you carry yourself, generally people don't they see that and it's not not an ego thing and a competition thing which surprisingly, yeah, he was very anti-competition for all of those reasons, and then also lived a very clean lifestyle. He does not drink alcohol, or definitely not. I did not live that quite that, but it's interesting because we talk about this, and he's like, he's really interested in what I'm doing with brewing the beer, especially once I get into history,
Mm-hmm.
the background of it, and like how amazing, this stuff is. No, it's not just to, get drunk, but there's health detriments to drinking alcohol. We all know that. But
Yeah. Yeah,
but
we'll definitely
he's
get to that here in a
but
second for sure. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean that's pretty much the martial
That's
arts end of it.
awesome.
But it's kept
Yeah.
me in good health. I think lifelong martial artists maybe I like to think enable me to be able to drink a little bit more beer.
There you go.
Give me a little more wiggle room.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I studied martial arts for about a decade. I sadly
nice.
gave up shortly, like after I kind of finished high school and moved out of the house and all that kind of fun stuff. So I was fairly young too. I don't know if I was quite six. I'm maybe closer to 7 or 8 years old. I was fairly young when I started as well. So I did Kim's karate as well.
You did
Yep,
Kim's?
yep.
Yep.
So I grew up in Flint, Michigan. So I was on Corona Road. Flint, Michigan stuff. God, it's been gone forever now. But I got to meet Master Kim a couple times. He would come by every once in a
Met
while
him
and
as well.
check out
Yeah.
his dojos, make sure everybody's doing whatever they're supposed to be doing and stuff like that. So he seemed to be like a cool guy. But again, I was young, so I don't have a whole lot of memories of him. But my sensei, Hall, he decided to break ties with Kim's Karate and joined. I drew up like I had it in my head the whole time, and now it's gone. They're based out of they're like the biggest headquarters is in the United States is in Texas, but it's from South Korea. Anyways,
Uh-huh.
his dojo's name was the Golden Pagoda. So in that time period, I left for a little while. I came back and I think at that time I was like a third degree red belt, and I was teaching class because like I was been part of the group for so long, and he knew me for a very long time. It was kind of interesting because again, I wasn't quite yet a black belt, but I was teaching black belts how to do things. I think like you, they progressed so fast, they didn't learn a lot of the stuff. Um,
Right.
he did teach a lot of grappling, which I thought was pretty interesting. More throws than anything.
Yeah,
Like
that's a big
so.
divergence from Kim's, right? Because
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
I
you
mean,
did.
we
Yeah.
weren't
It was
doing,
just,
yeah,
yeah,
you
like
didn't
you
do any
did,
of
did a lot
that.
of forums,
Right.
a lot of forums. Um,
Yeah.
growing up in Flint, Michigan, there's a sister city in Canada called Hamilton. So we'd have what's called the Canusas, so Canada versus USA. So I get to participate in competitions there. So would do different forums. I would do sparring competitions. Uh, I was
Yep.
fairly good. We don't remember winning trophies. I remember getting ribbons, which was like the big thing at that time. The weirdest thing is when I had to fight a girl. I didn't really care for that too much until she hit me. Then I was like, okay, I'll fight you back now. But I was young. I
Yeah.
was like
Hey,
13, 14
hey,
years old. So, um,
she'll kick your butt, dude.
oh yeah, she did. If I didn't fight back, she definitely would have beat the crap out of me for sure. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. I do miss it. I actually brought it to the wife about a year or two ago. I was like, I kind of miss. I kind of want to go back, um, just for health reasons, just to get a little more.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, we're
It's
not
great
super
exercise.
old, but we're getting older. So like we need to be more mobile. I'm sure we watched our grandparents as they started to slow down. They really slowed down. They didn't really do much of anything. So I don't want
The
that in my. So
cardio of it is
that's what
amazing.
I'm thinking of.
And
Right. Right.
it's like, and you're not just on like a treadmill or a
Mm-hmm.
bike, and most people don't realize that. I had a friend who got into boxing. It was a soccer, she was a soccer player in college
Mm-hmm.
and used to like, like, I mean, they
Yeah.
run soccer. And we had like a little rivalry, just not a rivalry, but she would just, you know, like, oh no, well, you don't have the cardio. And I'm like, even though she knew the martial arts background, I'm like, I don't, I do. And we were doing it, and then a couple of years later, I talked to her because she got into boxing,
Mm.
and she was like, oh my God. She was like, I'm into boxing now, and I all those years of running and soccer and everything. She's like, spar for 3 minutes.
Yes.
She's like, I
Oh
thought I
my
was gonna
gosh.
die.
Yep.
Like,
Exactly.
it is a whole different thing,
Yeah.
you know, the cardio. But no,
That's
it's good.
awesome. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you already topped. I already touched on the topic about health related. About homebrew and drinking. Uh,
yeah.
so I'll let you go ahead and kind of jump into that one a little bit.
About what? I'm sorry.
About the
What's that?
health related.
Oh, the health.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just something that I, realized that isn't talked about a lot. And I
Mm-hmm.
know in our whole community, we are all passionate about beer and
Mm-hmm.
brewing, and just I don't know if it's taboo or not, but we don't seem to talk about, the mental health aspects of it, and the and the physical health
Mm-hmm.
aspects of it. And just, um, I just, you know, I think people should maybe talk about it more. And like, if you're having issues,
Mm-hmm.
talk to people about, step back, moderate, don't
Mm-hmm.
ruin it.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I feel, fortunate. Like, I mean, and I don't know, the 80s and the 90s growing up, I I would say, not exaggeration, more than half of the like core group of people, guys that I grew up with, they're all gone
Mm-hmm.
already.
Mm-hmm.
They've all passed away, most likely, most of it because of addiction. issues and
Mm.
health related issues with it. And you know, there's a handful of us that made it through, and I feel really good about it. You know, like I'm so passionate about this, and I always said to myself, I'm not going to ruin it. I'm not going to ruin it because I
Mhm.
can't. I have friends that can't even that made it through. You know, they're still with us,
Mhm.
but they just they can't they can't even partake in it in any drink at all anymore, or a
Right.
lot or much of anything. And it's, you know, I have friends that are just like, man, I can't drink my beer. You know, they're like, I
Mhm.
can't drink your beer, Woody. And I'm like, I know, I get it. It's cool, like, cause I can't drink any beer anymore. And I just, you know, if we're all, if you try to moderate yourself and,
Mhm.
you know, we can still have it and, you know, appreciate it,
Yeah.
for what it is and respect it. Um, you know, so that was all. And just, and don't be afraid to talk about it, I think, with people. And you know, you know, some people even started, I know they'll start like writing down. They'll be like, all right, I'm going to write down how many drinks I have
Mhm.
on a day or in the week, so I can keep track of it and I can actually look back on it and you know, see how I'm doing.
That's a good
um
idea for sure, yeah.
so that we can keep enjoying it and
Mhm.
not you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, but that was all.
No, no, like I said, I mean, yeah, we make, a fair amount of beer. I mean, you make double what I make for the most part. Like, so,
uh,
well, it could be a very slippery slope, right? For sure. Like, you
hmm
could, find yourself the bottom of a keg easily, right? Because, we have easy
yeah.
access to it. It's only, for me, it's 10 feet from where I'm sitting right now. I could go over to my Keyser and pour a full pint all day long. And
I know I've been
so,
sitting here for the last minute going, I'm gonna get, hey, can I go fill up my glass?
that's
It's right there.
so close. So close. It's just tempting.
Hmm,
Yeah, so yeah, no, I agree. I think everything you brought up is definitely a powerful message. I've had some friends who have like you said are gone and no longer with us because of some type of addiction issues and never reached out for help, or when they did it was already kind of too late, and then
kind of too late.
yeah, and then they kind of went down
Yeah.
that bad rabbit hole. So, but on a funner note, we're going to change up to a
Yeah.
rapid
Yes.
fire
Yes.
round here. Right, this
Oh
is
no.
this is
All
the part
right.
I like. So, first thing that comes to your head, if you want to elaborate, go ahead. It's fine. I really don't care. So, here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, hazy or clear?
Clear.
Bottle or yeah, bottle or can?
um, Interested in cans now.
There you go. Yeah, ales or lagers?
Ales, but moving into lagers.
Okay, a favorite
Yeah.
hop variety?
Um, wow. That's so specific to what the beer is I want to do.
Right.
I, you know, what I find most interesting these days, I think,
Mhm.
is that Motueka
Okay.
if I'm
Yeah.
saying it right. It's just, that is really cool. Or Galaxy. I really like those. But obviously I'm not going to use those in my beers that I need a noble hop.
Right.
But that was, sorry, that was way too long. Go
No,
ahead.
that's
Sorry.
totally fine. Favorite beer glass?
Um, I mean, I guess it's just the standard pint glass is
Yeah.
I do have I don't know what to call it, a glass that I have. It's a very large bulbous top and comes down to a narrow stem, long one that I've got from a restaurant in Baltimore, and I've had it for years. I've actually used it in my videos. I
Yes.
don't know what it's
What
called,
is that
but I
called?
do like that glass a lot.
Yeah,
It's my favorite glass.
I was gonna say that was probably the one I would guess you would have said,
I just
but
don't know what it's
oh,
called. I don't know what you call that glassware.
it's a, well, it depends on what you want to say it. You want to say it the American way, it'd be a Weizen, or if you say the German way, it'd be a Weizen class, right? So
Oh, okay, Weissglas,
yeah,
yeah, or something like a Weissenglas.
yeah.
Right.
And
Mm.
that's what I thought you was going to say actually, because I said I think I've watched all your videos now, so I think that's what you use was predominantly.
Mostly, yeah. I don't, but I don't know. I didn't know what it was called.
Just go grab it.
Yeah.
So do you are you a morning brewer or evening brewer?
I usually like to get started no later than like 9:30 in the morning
Okay,
when I'm going to go
fair
for
enough.
my brew
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
It's a
could take a while.
because I want to be done by 7, 7:30, but 8. Sometimes it rolls into. It's a
Oh my
pretty long brew
gosh.
day.
Yeah, it is. 'Cause I forgot. Yeah, I was like, what? I was thinking, why is it taking so long? I forgot. You do like 11-gallon batches. Like, sure, it takes a while to heat that sucker up and
Yeah,
all this
all
stuff.
in between. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I get out. That's where I'm like, when I get started, I'm gonna start milling my grain.
Hmm.
I'm gonna fill up water and start milling my grain.
What's the
That's
most?
what
Yeah, okay. What's the most underrated beer style?
I I think it's Hefeweizen. I think Hefeweizen. I just always have loved it, and I know that like I like the Kristallweizen and the clear wheat beers, the Weiss beer that is good, but
Hmm.
I don't know. It seems like people don't really care much about Hefeweizen.
I like them. I
I
enjoy
love
them.
it.
Do you like banana
You know.
forward or clove forward?
Banana. I like the banana more than the
Yeah,
clove.
same here, same here. I've had
Yeah,
one that had a little bit of the bubblegum flavor to it. That kind of threw me off. I didn't try to understand how that was produced, but I know that's one of the characteristics. Someone,
one of
right?
them.
Yeah, is it kind
Yeah,
of weird?
that's on the yeast.
Yeah.
But that's why that was a tough question when you said hazy or clear, because
Oh.
I'm like, I love Hefeweizen, but otherwise, yeah,
uh,
I'm a big clarity guy. I love clear beer.
what's your favorite song to play on the drums?
Um, it's probably going to be one of the David Bowie songs that we play. I would say if it's either Ziggy Stardust
Okay.
or um Moon Age Daydream,
Okay.
that might be. I also really like playing Black Sabbath, Sweet Leaf. Sweet Leaf. Yeah, yeah. Um, that's a great one. Yeah.
There you go. That's perfect, man. What's the best vegetables that you grow in your garden?
I I really like the potatoes I grow. Is that
Okay.
a vegetable? Are we still out on that? That's a
To
vegetable,
me, it's a
right?
vegetable.
It's a
Yeah.
root. It's a root. But
It's a root
yeah, right.
vegetable.
Yeah. Yeah. I do like spicy peppers and
Okay.
garlic.
Oh, nice.
Garlic might really be one of my favorites. But
There you go. What is the best beer you've ever brewed?
I feel like I have to say it's my Amber Hefeweizen, but
Hmm.
I really I don't know, this Irish red ale that I just made is I it might be my favorite right now. I mean,
Okay.
it's so good. It's
Yeah,
so
that's
good.
very
I
pretty
you
looking.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. I don't want to spoil it. Just go watch that video. By the time
Right
this
on.
airs, St. Patrick's Day will be done over with. But definitely go watch it. It'd be a great one to watch.
Right.
For Nick St. Patrick's Day. Okay. Besides the flat stout that you made 20 some odd years ago, what has been the next like worst beer you brewed?
Oh, that first one.
Yeah.
That was that was pretty bad. Wow.
If you can't think of one, it's totally fine.
I can. I
Nope,
didn't stump me. I
that is
mean,
perfect.
I've been pretty fortunate. It's been a long, long time since I've brewed anything that I was like, oh, this is awful or undrinkable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm, well, that's
You could look at
perfect.
my little list.
Look at you. Let's.
Look at my list. What do I make?
All right,
Is there?
so we're gonna kind of get to like the wrapping up
Yep.
section here. So just a few more questions. So one of them's gonna be so we kind of talked about competition brewing.
Yeah.
If and when you're going to submit a beer, what beer do you plan on submitting?
That is something that I'm exploring to figure out, like,
Okay,
how does this whole thing work? Because I see that it's
gotcha.
like there's only so many a year in different places, and
Mm-hmm.
whether it's local or I got to ship it, like you said, and
Yeah,
like how I'm gonna do that, and then because they're usually style based, aren't they,
usually
to
you'll have
some
them already. Yeah,
degree?
yep, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to do. I I really like my English brown ale.
Okay.
Like, so if there was something that would apply, that would
Mm-hmm.
be great. If there was of course, if there was something that was like a wheat
Mm-hmm.
beer, because I'd get that Hefeweizen in there in a heartbeat. I really like the New England IPA that I have, but of course I have concerns about
A lot of people complain
packaging
about
and
shipping those.
shipping
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a concern. but another one too is I don't know if it was ales or this and that because I love my cream ale. My corn cream ales that is one of my favorites too. I do that is, it's just that lawnmower crushable
Yep.
summer beer.
Hmm.
But at the same time too, there's nothing like I don't know, you can say there's nothing exciting about it. Like it's not like it's
Well,
it's
I
it's
mean,
I mean,
you say that,
I
but I
don't
mean, if
know.
you're like, again, you're being scored on style. So if your style is like spot
Right,
on, you could score very, very well. So you may not get no
right.
feedback from it, but you may do very well. And it goes like some of
Right, it's
these,
gonna
like
need to be clean and crisp and
exactly, yeah.
yeah,
And some of them have like platforms. So like you have to get through this round to get to like the next round. So like the competition gets a
Right,
little bit
yeah.
harder. So there's as well too. Um, okay, if I haven't, I might have some information I could probably send you maybe next week, just to kind of show you kind of like what competitions I've seen out there, just to kind of wet your whistle, just to kind of look around a little bit. Um,
Yeah, I'm open to any help. Like I
right,
said, I've
man,
just been
it's a
looking
huge.
into it.
So,
I'm
have you listened to Jay Wilkes yet? The podcast I've done with him.
with Jay. With
Jay Wilkes, he's from Washington D.C. Actually, we'll take this off of camera here in a second. I'll talk about
yeah.
him. So my next question is going to be, who would you like to see me interview next?
Oh boy.
Hmm.
Can you get Steve Apartment
So
Brewer? Can you get him
I've
on
already
here?
interviewed him, so I'll spoil that.
Oh, you
Yeah, I
did?
did. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. I mean, he seems like such a
Oh,
great guy, but
he is a great guy.
I mean, I mean, he's pretty big now, right?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
congrats getting
yeah,
him on
yeah.
your show,
Yep. Just cold
He's
emailed him.
I think everybody knows who he is
Yeah,
at this point in
yeah.
our community, but
Hmm.
yeah, that no, that would yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but if you can
Yeah.
think of anybody, just let me know, or you can just send me my email. I'll make the contact.
I will. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, there's a lot of small channels and
there
some
is.
guys that
Yep.
I've been watching now and
Hmm.
checking them out, and they're just getting going, and that I think are great.
Hmm.
I'll definitely
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can have
get
my email. Just send me something
send
for
you
sure.
some.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. All right.
perfect, man. And if you want to go ahead and plug your YouTube channel, right now would be the perfect time.
Oh, Mash Wood Brewing.
Yeah, there you go. Pretty simple. So, Woody, it's
Yep.
been a pleasure chit chatting with you, sir. I've had a blast. Hopefully, we can do this again in the future.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate your time.
All right,
It's
buddy.
great.
We'll see you, sir.
All right, take care. Bye bye.